What's up, y'all? Grant here. As you all know, I grew up in East Tennessee, and there are two things that all East Tennesseans have in common. We all love the Volunteers, and we all love the Smoky Mountains. Since I've moved to Nashville, I've been unable to get my Smoky Mountain fixin' as much as I would like, but my friends over at Black Bear Inn and Suites of downtown Gatlinburg have me covered. They are conveniently located at 1100 Parkway, and they are also located within walking distance of all the major attractions and the best food that downtown Gatlinburg has to offer. Great for family getaways or business trips. To book your Smoky Mountain getaway today, visit blackbeargatlinburg.com or give them a call at 865 436 5656 or toll free at 1 800 933 0777.
Welcome to the Volun Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, here with my co-host, the real Grant Williams. How you doing tonight, man?
Jordan, oh man, it's kind of a somber night for me after the Vols took that L, but you know, we're gonna power through it and still be resilient. How you doing tonight, bud?
Oh, buddy, I'm with you on that one. That was a rough one, but we're here to recap it and look ahead to Georgia. So, what do you say we go ahead and get on down to business, man?
Well, let's do it real quick. I do want to say this for the faithful listeners of the pod. You guys typically stream us on all the different platforms. Well, tonight we are actually starting our video podcast, so you'll be able to catch us on YouTube. So make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, make sure you like it, and comment on the video and see what you like, guys.
Absolutely, looking forward to that. We've been talking about this for a hot minute, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that meme you posted the other night, man, that was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty solid myself, but all right, buddy, let's get down into it. Man, just that's a rough one tonight, man. Rough start. What do you got to say about it, buddy? I'm gonna let you get on your soapbox for a minute.
I don't know if I'm ready for this, but we're gonna do it, man. So first off, just a horrible freaking game all around by the Vols tonight. Zakai Ziegler and Dalton Connect were the only two who even got off the plane. I mean, Jonas Adu, you got 5 fouls in the game. A couple of those I thought were very, very questionable, but you didn't do anything, man. Dalton Connect, thank God you showed up and you made the second half interesting because Zakai couldn't do it all on his own. Santi, Triple J, where the hell are you guys? I mean, you guys are fifth-year seniors. Tennessee should not be having to play a game without two guys who have played more minutes than anybody else on this team. They should not be having to show up and try to play a game without you guys. I'm sorry, but that is just absolutely inexcusable and a piss poor effort by two fifth-year seniors. I am not going to accept that as a fan, as a member of the media. And I hope the rest of All Nation doesn't accept that either, because that was absolutely embarrassing tonight. You are a ranked number 5 team in the country. You're in the top 5 for a reason. And you absolutely went out there and laid an egg. I mean, I don't even know where to begin on this. What do you think about the game tonight, Jordan?
Oh, buddy, I'm right there with you, man. It was a rough one, dude. It was just flat out a rough one. The Vols just did not come out and look like a top 5 team tonight. I hate to say it, but they didn't in the first half anyway.
No, well, and in the second half, you only got back into this game because Dalton remembered that he plays basketball in the SEC. That's the only reason why you kind of got back into this one. But I am going to jump on the soapbox here for a second and really tell y'all what grinds my gears. The officiating was piss poor tonight. That last foul on Jonas Adu was not a foul. He goes straight up. His hands are up like this. And for some reason, they still want to choose to call a foul on him. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all. Officials, you have to do better. You have a job in the SEC for a reason, and you didn't act like it tonight. You acted like you're reffing middle school rec league basketball tonight.
You know what? It's funny you say that because I've seen it firsthand several times. My thing is with them, if you're going to be bad, either be really bad, but be consistent, or be good and be consistent. Either way, just be consistent with what you're calling. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you have to call the game the same way all the way around. It can't be this bullshit where you're like, okay, I'm going to call it one way this time, but then whenever the calls don't favor how I want it to go, I'm going to switch it up and do something different, or I'm going to pick something completely different on that. That's not how basketball works at the end of the day. You either call it the same exact way for 40 minutes, or you don't even show up. That's how it needs to be. And I hope Greg Sankey's getting on the phone with some of these guys right after this game, because that was just abysmal with what the referees chose to call tonight. And that's not how the game of basketball needs to be officiated. It's not how it needs to be played. And if it's going to be that way, I want to see Greg Sankey step in and say, no, you don't have a job anymore. I mean, it was just absolutely horrible. I mean, I was texting back and forth with you during the game. Too many missed calls, not enough calls on that. And then in the second half, that one where they called it a 10-second violation in the back court where Santi had stole the ball and was going for a dunk right there. I mean, that changes the trajectory of the game right there. You could not have these little calls come in and dictate how the game is going to be called at the end of the day. It can't be that. And it absolutely affected the outcome of the game because the better team did not win tonight.
No, the better team did not win, and you're right. That did affect the outcome of the game because Tennessee takes the lead right there on that steal, and man, it was awful. I thought they'd called a foul. I thought they had called a foul the way it looked because he pointed towards the bench, and I'm like, did they just call a foul on Santi? Like what was going on? And then I realized they called that 10 seconds. But man, that whole because after that happened, they went from Tennessee's about to be up by one, different look on the ball game to Miss State. I'm wanting to say ripped off a 4 or 5 point run right there and kind of opened it back up.
Well, they absolutely did, man. And it's like you said right there. That gives Tennessee the lead in this basketball game. And if Tennessee gets the lead by a Santiago Vescovi made basket, Santi may be able to start cooking, kind of like what Dalton did once he finally saw the ball go in the hoop. And if you're able to get that going, man, it could be a different basketball game. But once again, we're sitting here and we're talking about piss poor officiating in this game. And I hate it because that's not how I want to open up the show for our faithful listeners. I want it to be about the game itself and not about how the external factors of the game came in and dictated how the game was. But instead, people in Stark Vegas are celebrating tonight. They're storming the court, and all of us in Vol Nation are like, man, I mean, this could have been a whole lot different.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But instead, we're having to sit here and break down a loss, and it sucks because there was one team that was going to get a quad one win tonight, and it was not our Vols.
Well, it absolutely wasn't. The Vols just really didn't even show up in this one. I mean, I can sit here and I can complain and moan about the officiating all I want to, but at the end of the day, man, Tennessee didn't do themselves any favors because they still could have won this game. Tennessee dug themselves way too big of a hole in the second half to be able to go out and really do anything with this.
They really did, man. Ziegler, though, man, we can't talk enough about ZZ, man. He has had such a nice little stretch here over these last 4 games. He's shot 42% from 3 of the last 4 games. And he was 2-2 to start tonight. I mean, he had a fast start tonight, and it was nice to see.
Well, he absolutely did. Diving into what Zakai was able to do tonight in 37 minutes, he had 26 points. So you want to talk about a guy who really just came out and balled 9 of 15 from the field, 4 of 9 from deep, 4 of 5 from the line. He also ended the game with 7 assists and 3 steals and only had 3 turnovers with those 7 assists. Once again, young man, I'm going to say it just like I said it on Saturday night. Go have yourself a day. You're the one who drives the bus for this team. And if Zakai is having a great game, Tennessee's going to be put in the best possible situation to win the game. It just didn't fall that way today because there's only one other guy who really showed up. Diving into the rest of the team, Jonas had 9 points in 20 minutes, but also fouled out of the game on some questionable fouls right there. Dalton finally got his face off of a milk carton. I mean, I don't know what else to say when it comes to that. 28 points, 10 of 18 from the field, 4 of 9 from deep, 4 of 6 from the line, 3 steals, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and 1 foul for Dalton. He really played an all-around game and stuffed the stat sheet right there with the 6 rebounds as well. And that was only in 37 minutes. Santiago Vescovi, your face is going on the milk carton today. 22 minutes. You didn't really play in the first half because of a lot of foul trouble. He only logged 5 minutes in the first half. But Santi only scored 2 points. In those 2 points, he had 2 fouls, which were from the first half, 1 turnover with that. 3 steals and 4 assists and 1 rebound. I mean, what the hell's going on, Santi? Another guy whose face is getting put on the milk carton tonight. Triple J, man. I mean, everybody knows how I feel about Triple J. He's the one who I think probably is the most important player on the team just because he's a glue guy and he really drives the bus for the team whenever Santi, not Santi, who am I trying to talk about? Zakai. Whenever Zakai's not having his best night, but only 3 points for Triple J tonight. He shot 1 of 8 from the field and 1 of 2 from the free throw line. I'm going to say this, guys, right here. The 2 guys whose faces are on a milk carton tonight, you are fifth-year seniors. You started your career at Tennessee. You're ending your career at Tennessee. You have to play better basketball. You know this system inside and out. I am concerned with those 2. Like, Santi, where the hell have you been all year, man? I mean, this is starting to be a really big issue. And then Josiah, I'm not going to jump on you as much. Your face is only halfway on the milk carton, in my opinion, because you've played great basketball this year. Santi, you have not. Diving into the bench, guys, Tobe Awaka had to play 20 minutes tonight due to foul trouble from Jonas Adu. 4 points, 2 turnovers. He also fouled out of the game, and he had 6 rebounds. You know, he didn't really do a whole lot. We did get a Freddie Dilion sighting tonight, and in 4 minutes, he just ran a whole lot. Didn't take a single shot, didn't get anything in the stat sheet. He was just out there running today. I'm not really sure what was going on with that. And then here we go. We get down to Jordan Gainey. Man, why is he even playing?
Dude, I'll tell you what. He had like 3 good games where he was shooting well, and ever since then, man, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. It's been awful, dude. Awful.
It's been abysmal.
It has. You know, then let's see here. But dude, I'll tell you what, it was a straight up slobber knocker in that first half tonight.
Well, it absolutely was. I mean, you're looking at what the Vols did today. The Vols only scored 22 points in the first half, which is not going to get it done. I mean, thank God you're able to score more in the second half and make this somewhat competitive. But at the end of the day, man, it goes back to what we've talked about a whole lot. Whenever you go on these scoring lulls and you're not able to get the ball in the hoop, what are you going to do? Who's going to be the one to get you out of these scoring lulls? And if it wouldn't have been for Zakai Ziegler today, man, this game, it would have been the ugliest thing I have ever seen in that first half.
100%, man. It would have been ugly if it wasn't for Zakai. I mean, he played the best game I think I've seen him play all year, really.
I don't know, man. That Ole Miss game on Saturday was pretty special with what he was able to do right there.
Yeah, you got a good point. These have been the 2 best games he's put together back to back all year. Let's say that.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And he's on a stretch right now, man, where he should be getting talk about maybe getting his name in that SEC Player of the Year category right there. I mean, I know they're not going to give it to him just because he's a little guy and they're not going to show the love to the 5'0" guy out there on the floor. But man, he is playing the best basketball he has ever played right now.
Absolutely, man. You know, and 2, he went and he just hustles, man. That's all I can say. He just hustles, and he got physical on defense tonight. And honestly, right there to kind of start the game between him and DK, or start the second half, excuse me. Him and DK really started the run for the Vols tonight, I felt like.
Well, they did, man. I mean, I'm pulling up the stats right now from the first half, but you're looking to see what Zakai did in the first half. Zakai had 10 points, so he was able to pour on a couple of more in that second half, and Dalton only had 2. And then Dalton ended the game with 28 points, and Zakai ended the game with 26. So both of them did their bulk of work in the second half to really galvanize the run for the Volunteers in that second half.
Yeah, I'd say their back's hurting tonight from carrying that team. What do you think?
Man, I mean, I'm going to have to say Dalton's back is really hurting after that second half comeback because Zakai poured in 16 in the second half, but Dalton had to pour in 26 in that second half. I mean, he looked like the Dalton Connect who played in that scrimmage against Michigan State. He looked like the Dalton Connect who played against Wisconsin or North Carolina or insert team name here before, before after that Illinois game, insert team here from before that game. That's the Dalton Connect we saw in that second half. And it's very encouraging for me as a fan to see that, because I'm like, okay, maybe he's not just a broken player who had just an unbelievable stretch and then Connect Sanity's over with. No, he still is him at the end of the day. He's played great basketball for the Vols, and Dalton, your name and your face is officially off the milk carton with the Vol and Out boys now.
100% after tonight. It was nice to see, man. He finally stepped up, and we got what we needed out of him as far as, contributing, because it's been few and far between the last few weeks. I will say this though. I don't want to totally put it on the officials for Tennessee losing tonight. Miss State's really solid defensively, man. Really solid.
Well, they are, man. I mean, they were able to hold Tennessee to just a really not Tennessee-like performance tonight. Tennessee shot 46% from the field. I'm going to call it that because it's 45.8%. 27.6% from the three and 62.5% from the line. Hashtag HYFT was not in full effect for the Volunteers tonight. Looking at what State did right here, 50% from the field, 33.3% from three, and then 70.4% from the line. So neither team really had hashtag HYFT in full effect. Shout out to our buddy Tyler Ivins on that right there. But man, where the game was won right here, honestly, came from, Tolu Smith, 23 points, 7 of 10 from the field in his 29 minutes in his first start of the season, 9 of 12 from the line. And then he was able to pull in 4 rebounds, which you would kind of expect a big guy to have a little bit more than that. But then they got a boost off the bench from Hubbard. 28 minutes, he got 25 points, 5 of 10 from three, 8 of 15 from the field. I'm sorry on that, y'all. But other than that, nobody really did anything. You're going down through the stat line right here. Matthews had 8. DJ Jeffries had 4. Davis had 5. Moore had 4. Jordan Bell had 2. Jones had 6. And Fort, sorry, y'all. Bad eyes over here. Had 0 points. If you're able to shut down those 2 guys right there, you have no issue. If you're able to shut down one of the 2, you have no issues right there. But for some reason, Tennessee could just not figure it out, and I don't understand why.
I think as far as Adu went tonight, I think that was a big part in why Smith had such a good game. Man, he could just push Jonas around. He just pushed him around sometimes. Owaka, I said it before, I feel like he's the better of the 2 against a big guy with some bulk. And he looked
is
better.
The better defensive player.
Yes.
Between the 2. He's got the bulk where he can stand there and keep a guy from pushing him off the block, which is what you need to see out of him right there. But he doesn't give you a damn thing on the offensive end of the court.
No. And you gotta take what you can get from Jonas on that one, as far as that goes. And usually you get a good bit out of him. So
you normally do. Just foul trouble from questionable officiating tonight is what kept Jonas out of the game. And I think that if Jonas plays the rest of the way through, Tennessee probably does come out with a victory, and they get that in the dub column right there. But that's neither here nor there, man. There's so many ifs, ands, or buts. And if that was candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But guess what? We're not going that way right now. So it is that. But one thing I will say about Jonas Adu, after he fouled out of the game, he was being a cheerleader on the sideline over there. He's the only guy standing up at times. He's over there coaching, cheering on his guys. And that's what you need to see out of an upperclassman on the team.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's called leadership. And that's what he was providing with that tonight. It's not, I fouled out, so what? I don't care what ends up happening. He was rooting the rest of the guys on, and that's what you want to see.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm just happy to see that he was able to do that. But Jonas, even if it's questionable officiating, man, you have to make sure that you're available for your team. Because if you're not, stuff like this is going to continue to happen. We've already seen it this year where, sure, Tobe Awaka, extremely efficient player, but he doesn't give you a whole lot on the offensive end unless he's going to the free throw line. Jonas, if Tennessee has aspirations to cut down the nets in Nashville in March, or to cut down the nets in Phoenix in April, you have to be available for this basketball team. There's no question on that.
150%, man. Yeah, they have to have him. I will say this though. Tonight, it was weird because it felt like Tennessee started off really fast. So did Miss State, but it seemed like they started off fast tonight, and we as fans were waiting for that run at the end of the second half to sort of close us out and maybe open that game up a little bit. We hit a cold spell about the 15-minute mark into the game, man, or with 15 minutes to go in the half, and it's like we just never warmed up at all. Didn't even get lukewarm, and we go in and in the half slow, and that was just weird to see because usually all year this year we've seen Tennessee start kind of slow, start heating up a little bit, and then at the end of the game, or into the half, start opening it up a little bit to close that gap or open up a lead.
Well, and it didn't happen today. You're absolutely right on that, man. You have to get the ball in the bucket. And sure, Zakai was the only one who got off the plane in the first half. But where's a guy like Dalton at in the first half? If he shows up, this isn't even a ball game. If Santi shows up, this isn't a ball game.
Triple
If
J.
Josiah shows up, this is not a ball game. If Jonas doesn't have foul trouble, this is not even a ball game. But there's all those outlying factors that went into it. Whether if, Santi and Triple J have something going on at home and it's keeping them from being able to perform on the court, or if it's, Jonas is getting foul trouble. There's all these outlying factors that go into it at the end of the day. But guys, we've got to see better than this. I mean, I know I've said it 45 freaking times right now, and I'm going to say it probably 40 more before this show's over with. Tennessee has to play better at the end of the day. And, there's a lot of different things that went into this. Like I said, two guys who are your senior leaders who've played 5 years in the program didn't even get off the plane. They could have kept their ass back in Knoxville and it would have been just the same. But they got on the floor and they didn't do anything right there for whatever reason. Jonas gets in foul trouble. That's that. Dalton, who knows where he was in the first half. Gainey, he didn't give you anything in this entire game. Meshack, you did really good on defense, but you didn't back up that good performance you had on the offensive end against Ole Miss on Saturday. So why are we doing all this? Like, why is this even an issue right now? I don't know. Sure, Tennessee, we're going to be fine. Tennessee's a good basketball team at the end of the day. Tennessee's a great basketball team at the end of the day.
Yes.
And sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. But you gotta fight through adversity on this stuff.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes, man. Tonight was just one of those nights. Whatever could go wrong in that first half went wrong, it seemed like, and we just couldn't buy one. But it is what it is, man. I will say this though. Zakai did have a block tonight.
Man, I think that might be his second career block after that one on Saturday.
Put one in the cheap seats for the 5-foot guy.
Hey, man, I love it right there. I want to see stuff like that more out of Zakai. And like I said, man, he's playing the best ball that he has ever played in his entire life right now. This past 4 to 6 game stretch that he's been on has just been unbelievable. And I'm pulling up the stats from his most recent games right now. But we'll go all the way back to NC State. He had 20 points in that game. Tarleton State, 13. Norfolk State, 17. Ole Miss, 17. And then Mississippi State, 26. So we're on a great run as Zakai Ziegler. And keep it up, Ziggy. We need you to keep on doing this, man.
Absolutely, man, because that could carry the Vols to a deep March run that we've all been waiting to see.
We've all been dying to see it. Fingers are crossed right here. Y'all can see it now on YouTube. Fingers are crossed. I think it's still really possible. And there's going to be bad nights. I mean, sometimes the ball's not going to bounce your way. And this just happened to be one of those nights right there where the ball just didn't bounce your way. And now the Volunteers, do have 4 losses on the season, which, at this point in the year, it's not where you want to be, but it could be a lot worse at the same time. I mean, sitting 11-4 and 1-1 in conference is not the worst thing to be right now.
No, absolutely not. And then, Tennessee had Purdue go down, Houston go down.
Kansas.
Kansas went down. I want to say who was number 4?
UConn, and they're still fighting, so they're good right there. But I don't expect the Vols to really move down too far in the poll, or even to move at all, if you take care of business on Saturday against Georgia.
Yeah. They got to do that and see what happens after that. But that might be the silver lining out of all this, is Tennessee's not going to drop very far, if at all.
I was going to say, I don't think Tennessee's going to drop at all, as long as Tennessee takes care of business on Saturday. Now, if we're getting on here and we're talking about a team that lost another game on Saturday, you fall. It is what it is. And I don't foresee that happening. I don't think Georgia is quite there just yet to be able to do it. I think Mike White is building something in Georgia, and I think it could be a special program for them in the coming years. But right now, they're not there. So you've got to go through and you've got to build off this loss and say, okay, we're not going to go into Athens on Saturday and have another performance like this. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, Ricky Dale is not going to let that happen. Tonight was his 1200th career coach game, which is just crazy to think about, that a guy's been in the game for that long to be able to coach that many games. But he's not going to let 12-0-1 be a loss.
No way, man. He's been coaching since Moses wore short pants. So
he sure was, man. He sure was. Well, Jordo, man, give me your player of the game tonight. Who was on their best game for the Vols?
One quick thing before I hit that.
Okay.
Tonight, did you know Tennessee has 4 1,000-point scorers, one of 11 teams in Division I.
I caught that on the broadcast.
Yeah, they threw that up during the game. I thought that was pretty cool.
Who are your 4? So you got DK, you've got Santi, Triple J, and is Zakai the other one?
I want to say so, man. I want to say so, possibly. We'll have to check that out. But
that check us right there while you give me your player of the game.
You know, I want to go with ZZ, but I'm going to say it was nice to see Dalton Connect back. Not Dalton Kincaid like I'd done a few weeks ago. My bad, guys. But Dalton Connect, it was nice to see him show up tonight and play some ball. I enjoyed watching that. Dude, he had 2 nasty throwdowns during that game that were like back-to-back almost.
Ooh.
And, buddy, there was one. He just put that boy on a poster and said, no, this is my paint. We're doing what – we're not playing around tonight. Even though we did.
Oh man, that is, those were both beautiful right there. I will echo what you said with the player of the game right there, just for the simple fact of, if Dalton doesn't show up in this game, this isn't even a game. Going
I mean, if Tennessee would have won tonight, I probably would have went with ZZ, just because, dude, he had I'm gonna say that's probably the best game I've seen him play this year. I watched most of the Ole Miss game just like you did. You were there. But I want to say tonight was probably the best I've seen him play all year, as far as being able to score the basketball and keep Tennessee in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that right there. I am going to roll with DK as my player of the game as well, just because without him, it's not even a ball game. Tennessee's not able to get back in this and be able to make it competitive. But my first half player of the game is going to roll with ZZ right there. And also, I am unable to find his total career points. But I do want to say that he probably is the other 1,000-point scorer right there.
Yeah. Well, we know one of them is definitely Santi. And you've got to be right on that. It's got to be ZZ. Has to be.
It's Santi, Triple J, and Dalton. I know that for a fact, because all 3 of those guys have surpassed the 1,000-point mark this season. But I'm not for sure on Zakai. I'm going to have to do some stat checking on that, and I will tweet it out to you guys right after we get done doing this. So make sure you guys hit me with a follow at grant.will94 on Twitter and Instagram to be able to see that. But Jordo, man, how about we take a quick break and we get some words from our sponsors in, and then we will do a little bit more work. How's that sound to you, bud?
That sounds like $1 million plan, buddy.
All right. Well, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This next segment is brought to you by Three Kings of Cardboard, the go-to spot to give your personal sports memorabilia collection some love. Check out their Facebook group and eBay store at Three Kings of Cardboard. I have dealt with them personally, and I will not deal with anybody else. My favorite item from them is my Jalen Wright Bowman U 1-of-1 Superfractor that they've pulled me. Check out our friends at Three Kings of Cardboard today. All right, Grant, you ready to take this trip around the SEC, buddy?
Man, I am ready for it. So we'll go into the scores from yesterday, but Alabama just absolutely downed the chickens from South Carolina. I mean, just put a hurting on them with a final score of 74-47. Spears was their leading scorer with 31 points, and Johnson for the Gamecocks scored 16. So not really a whole lot going right there, but I will say this, man, at the end of the first half, this was a 1-point game. And then Alabama scored 44 in the second half, where the Gamecocks only scored 18. So they kind of had a Tennessee offensive performance in the second half.
They really did, man. And, speaking of Alabama, our boys at Three Kings, buddy, if you're looking to upgrade that Alabama collection, if you're an Alabama fan listening to a Tennessee show, hey, there you go. That's where you do it. That's where you'll do it. You know what
Absolutely,
I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that one right there. Whew, man. What a rough game for them. We'll dive into another one where I actually got to watch this game yesterday, but Kentucky beat Mizzou by a final score of 90-77. Dillingham for Kentucky was the leading scorer with 23 points, where Carter for the Tigers scored 20 points in this game right here. The game was a lot closer than what this final score really shows. Mizzou kept this one a lot closer, and then right at the end, the Cats just kind of pulled away and really started wreaking havoc on that Mizzou defense.
Yeah, man, the Cats, buddy, they're tough, man. Whenever they want to play some ball, but we were talking about, we was hoping, kind of hoping Mizzou get them. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to watch Kentucky basketball lose.
No, oh, man, it makes me happy anytime that Kentucky can lose a game. So, Kentucky, start dropping some for us. We really need that right over here in Vol Nation about right now.
Yeah, we need to see that go down for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's just like watching Alabama football lose, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Nick Saban. Go enjoy that retirement life, man, right there. Going into our next game right here, LSU versus Vanderbilt. LSU ended up winning this one by 8 points with a final score of 77-69. Cook led the way for the Tigers with 28 points, where Manjon scored 19 points for the Commodores and led the way for them right there. This one, once again, kind of a close one right there. The Tigers had 30 points going into halftime, where the Commodores had 28, and then the Tigers scored 47 to the Commodores 41 in the second half. Not really a whole lot to dive into right there. But then going into a game where I watched most of it as well before me and you kind of had a quick meeting last night, Jordan. The Tigers of Auburn won by 11 over the Aggies with a final score of 66-55. Williams for the Tigers, 22, and Coleman III for the Aggies had 17. That finishes out the slate from last night's games. Is there anything that really sticks out to you from those right there, Jordo?
Man, not really, but I will say this. I seen something earlier today that I feel like is a good talking point. They're talking about the SEC having 2 potential Final Four teams, and Tennessee is not mentioned as one of them.
Who are the two they're saying?
Auburn and Kentucky.
Man, everybody loves to give Bruce some love right there, but the one thing I'm going to say on that, everybody's always going to pick Kentucky, but are they actually going to do it? I don't think so.
Mm-mm. Kentucky's always the easy pick. Bruce and Auburn, I really got no qualm with them outside of us having to play them, once, sometimes twice a year. So if Bruce takes them to the Final Four, whatever, I'm good with it. But
oh yeah, man, I want to see Bruce do well at the end of the day. I'm not against Bruce by any means, and I wish that he was still in Knoxville sometimes. So I want to see Bruce do well.
Yeah, I think deep down most of All Nation wants to see Bruce do well, but not at our expense.
No, not at the Vols' expense right there. But no, that is an interesting nugget right there because Tennessee should be the Final Four team out of the bunch, and if Tennessee's not going to be, then who really is? And if they're going to pick Auburn on it, I mean they're about as hot as anybody right now is in the SEC, in my opinion.
Auburn's a safe pick. Also, I did lie about something there. LSU being a perceived bad team. 2-0 in the conference now. Maybe they're not as bad as we thought they were. Maybe they are, though.
Yeah, I mean, they ain't played nobody yet, Paul. So that's all I'm going to say on that. That is all I'm going to say. So diving into the scores from tonight, there's one game that has went final, which unfortunately was the Bulldogs of Mississippi State beating Tennessee by a final score of 77-22. Hubbard with 25 points, and then Dalton Connect led the way for the entire game with 28. We've already dived into that. Check into the first segment if that's something y'all want to hear. And then there are two games that are currently going on right now as we are recording. It currently is 9:45 Central, so 10:45 Eastern. But Arkansas and Georgia are currently playing. So the next opponent for the Volunteers, Georgia's currently up 56-48 on the Hogs, which, man, the Hogs have kind of just fallen apart after they were a top 10, top 15 team to start out the season. And they've just absolutely pooped their pants.
They have, man. They've been caught with their pants down quite a few times, so to speak,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. And I hate it too because I kind of like Arkansas a little bit, man. I like the jerseys. I like the color scheme. I like the Must Bus out there. I think he's a hell of a coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas still squeaks their way into the tournament and finds a way to get to the Elite Eight for another time like they always seem to do.
They'll find a way, man. They always seem to, like you said. They're well coached. Well coached teams always seem to find a way. Whether it be in March or this time of the year, they just always seem to find a way to win.
No, they absolutely do, man. And then another game with a score of interest in this one, Ole Miss in Florida. So currently with this game with 11 minutes left to go in the second half, Ole Miss is up 72-56 with Brakefield leading the way with 22 points, and then Clayton Jr. for the Gators with 21 points.
Okay, so maybe you and I had this discussion the other night on the pod. Maybe Ole Miss is actually pretty good. Not that they were bad, but I think Tennessee made them look a lot worse than what they are.
I agree with that, man. Tennessee played great defense in that game, really was able to slow down what the Rebs wanted to do. And Tennessee just had, the best game that they've played all year. Let's call it what it is. Tennessee really controlled the pace of the game and was able to do what they wanted to do in that game. So I think Ole Miss is still a great basketball team. Chris Beard, hell of a coach, should be SEC Coach of the Year with what he's already been able to do with that program down there in Oxford. But you still need to see a little bit more. It's just January 10th at the end of the day. So there's still a lot of time for things to change up on that right there. But this has been our look around the SEC brought to you by our friends at Three Kings of Cardboard.
Yes, sir. Great people to deal with. They're great people, good friends of mine to deal with. Awesome.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely great guys over there. Well, let's talk a little bit about these Bulldogs from Athens, man. So Georgia is 11-3 on the season. That could change later tonight, but it looks like it's going to uphold to where they could go to 12-3. They're currently sitting at 5th in the SEC. Their leading scorer is Jabari Abdul-Rahim with 13 points per game. Rebounds goes to Russell, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name. I'll spell it out for you guys, though. It is Tchewa, and he's got 6.6 rebounds per game. Justin Hill is the leader in assist. He averages 3.3 per game. Silas Damari Jr. averages 1.4 steals per game to lead the Bulldogs. And Frank Absliam Ibe. Once again, another name I don't know how to say. Just butchered the hell out of that right there. But he's the leader in blocks with just under 1 per game. This Georgia team, not a good team, not a bad team, really middle of the pack right there, in my opinion. I think Mike White has done a phenomenal job with this team right here, Jordan.
That's a fair assessment. I would agree with that 100%. They're. I mean, this time last year, I don't think they were near. I don't think they won, but what 15, 16 games last year.
That sounds
So
about right.
they weren't very good last year, and it sounds like they're much improved already. I want to say one of those guys, maybe the Abdul Rahim, is a legacy transfer from Arkansas.
That sounds right. I will definitely stat check you on that one right there. But like I said, man, Mike White, he's done a great job with this team. Mike White, if you guys do remember, he was the coach of the Florida Gators from 2015 to 22. So he was about to get himself fired over there in Gainesville, and Georgia made a wonderful decision just to say, hey, no, don't get fired. Don't fire him. We'll pay your buyout. We'll have you come to Athens and run the ship over here. But it's turned out to be okay for them. In his time at Georgia, he is 27-19 as his career record there. And his overall career coaching record as a head coach is 270 to 147, which gives him a 647 percentage right there. And then in the NCAA tournament, he is 6-4 all time, where he was able to take the Gators on some runs right there. And then another nugget for you right here too. He has a lot of experience in the SEC. I mean, his playing days were at Ole Miss. So that right there kind of shows you what the guy was able to do. He played for the Rebels from 95 to 99, then went on to play 1 year with New Mexico State as a point guard there. And then he's been in the coaching ranks ever since then. From 2000 to 2004, Jacksonville State as an assistant, 2004 to 2011, Ole Miss as an assistant, 2011 to 2015 with Louisiana Tech. Went to go coach the Gators, like I stated earlier, 2015 to 22, and then 22 to present, he has been with the Bulldogs.
He had some good teams at Louisiana Tech.
Oh, he had great teams there.
I mean, really good teams. Just tournament teams, made not deep tournament run, Sweet 16. You know, that was about the best he did I want to say.
I mean, I don't disagree with you right there. You know, kind of looking at this, and this is one stat right here too, where I'm reading this right now as we're recording. So this isn't great for radio, and this is unprepared, but it's kind of how we like to do it here on Volin' Out. So at the 100-game mark in his career at Louisiana Tech, he had the highest winning percentage and the most wins out of any coach in Louisiana Tech history.
Wow, that's pretty solid. Pretty solid out of 100 games. Can't beat that.
Oh yeah.
You know, that one thing though, I was kind of looking through the stats tonight, looking at this Georgia team. Doesn't seem like they like to share the ball that much. They only averaged 12.8 assists per game. That's about 4 less than what we average.
Yeah,
So,
you're absolutely right, man. They don't really share the sugar around a whole lot, and it really shows in the games that they've lost what they've not really been able to pass the ball. Diving into their schedule a little bit, they opened up the season with a loss against Oregon. That one right there was a neutral site game, so I don't really look too much into that, but they lost that one by a final score of 82 to 71. They lost to the then ranked number 12 Miami Hurricanes with a final score of 79 to 68. They then lost to the Providence Friars with a final score of 71 to 64. So since then, they have been on an impressive win streak right here.
and you know, it doesn't seem like really ran them out of the gym, so to speak.
No, they really haven't. I mean, they've beat up on a couple of teams. So they beat Wake Forest, they beat North Carolina Central, they beat Winthrop, Florida State, Mercer, Georgia Tech, High Point, Mount St. Mary's, Northern Florida, Alabama A&M, and Mizzou. And like I said, currently they are playing the Hogs of Arkansas, and they are up on them.
And they're laying the bacon to them.
And they're laying the bacon to them Hogs.
Them Hogs.
Getting that bacon on them.
You know, too, something else I was looking at, they're not very good at the free throw line. They're about 70% from the free throw line. So it could end up being a hashtag HYFT game. And if it does, I feel like that plays in the Tennessee's favor.
It absolutely does. Tennessee has to hit their free throws in this game. You cannot let this be something that goes that way. The Dogs are averaging, 75.4 points per game. So kind of on par with where Tennessee is right there too.
I feel like where Tennessee scores like what they're averaging right now, it's gonna seem kind of even because we've all played about the same amount of games, mostly about the same level of competition, with the exception of Tennessee having played North Carolina, Kansas, Purdue, those guys. But man, I don't know. It's hard to win the SEC on the road, so I fully expect this to be maybe a barn burner, but hopefully Tennessee comes out on top.
I expect the Vols to come out on top in this game, kind of like what I said during the Mississippi State recap earlier in this episode. I don't think that Ricky Dale is going to let his team drop two in a row on the road. Now, if Tennessee does drop two in a row on the road, there are major reasons for concern with this team at that point. Because then you're going to start saying the same thing that you say about the football team. Can they win on the road? Can they win on the road? Can they win on the road this year? And if you can't win on the road in basketball, well, it's a tournament sport. And guess what? The tournament's played on the road.
Yes, 100%. And then got that trip to Rupp coming up soon, which you're going to be in attendance for.
I absolutely will be. And I'm going to be wearing my orange and screaming as loud as I can and hoping all those Kentucky fans are going back to the coal mines all upset.
Back to the coal mines, baby. Back to the coal mines. And then, too, we're going to have to chase them off the 3-point line like we did Ole Miss. Ole Miss shoots at a 40% clip. They shoot at 35%. They're not a bad 3-point shooting team.
No, they're not at all. I mean, 35.2%, kind of like what you said right there, 43.5% from the field. Free throw line, kind of like what you said earlier, 70%. They average 3.4 blocks per game, 6.4 steals per game, 12.8 assists per game, and 37.5 rebounds per game. So, not a great team you're playing, not a bad team you're playing. I would really expect Georgia to kind of be a middle of the road team when it does come to the SEC.
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment, I would say. I feel comfortable agreeing with that.
Well, it's not even just that too right there, man. At the end of the day, Tennessee is supposed to be the best team in the SEC this year. No ifs, ands, or buts. Tennessee is supposed to be the best team. So go play like you are the best team in the conference and prove what you can do. And I think Tennessee is more than capable of being able to do that.
So are we at the point where we need to call Saturday a get right game again? Because I feel like they need to get right after tonight.
I would say that. I think this is a get right game. If Tennessee is unable to go out there and win this game, there is going to be major cause for concerns. Like I said, Georgia's not a good team. They're not a bad team. Very middle of the road. They're going to do the things that they do well, but that's all they can do. So go out there, take them off of it. Use what you've got right here. At the end of the day, you've got Richard Dale Barnes as your basketball coach. They've got Mike White, who's the little brother of Danny White. Let's go ahead and throw that out there too. You think Danny White's going to want Rick to lose this game? Hell no. He's going to want to have the family bragging rights right there.
Got to have them. Got to have them, buddy. So, well, buddy, what do you think? You think we've dove into this Georgia look ahead enough to feel comfortable with calling that the show?
I think so, man. I think so. So real quick, guys, like I said, we are on YouTube for the first time. So make sure you come over here. If you guys don't know what our pretty faces look like, jump on here and tell us how pretty we look or how ugly we look or anything like that.
Yeah, feel free. We're looking forward to it. Any feedback is welcome. At least we know you're listening and watching. Like, rate, and subscribe to us on all the wherever you get your podcasts at. And we will see you guys come Saturday evening, maybe even possibly tomorrow night.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have a special show for you guys tomorrow if everything goes as planned. So make sure y'all stay tuned, follow the socials, and we will see y'all soon. And as always, go damn Vols.
Go damn Vols.
This episode of the Vol and Out podcast has been brought to you by our friends at Peace of Mind Enterprises. From construction, home remodel, down to general handyman services, Peace of Mind has you covered.
All technicians are licensed and insured, servicing East Tennessee with 30-plus years of experience. Call 865-202-7167 for a free estimate, because nothing beats having peace of mind.